All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the Black Clover scaling. There's a lot of exciting things that's been happening in Black Clover recently, and I've had many requests, especially on TikTok, to just talk about the scaling. There's people trying to use some of the latest feats to get these characters to even out of verse. That's because of basically Black Clover. The characters in Black Clover have been progressing in their power level so rapidly in the series that it's debatable as to why these characters could be a lot stronger than what people recently have been scaling them to as low as country level, for example. So what I've seen in Black Clover, there's the two new forms of our two main MCs. You could argue that there's two MCs here. We've got Asta and we've also got Yuno. And with both Yuno and Asta, they've basically gone through their own training arcs. And we can see with Asta, for example, he not only learned how to contract with a devil and therefore gain the devil's power, but he also named his devil, which is interesting, and he named him Lieb, or Lieb, Libe. Don't really know how to say that, but anyways, that was my attempt. But that's not even the most interesting thing about the Black Clover scaling. There is a lot of really interesting things going on. For example, when Nukt was fighting the two new devils that just appeared, these devils were basically toying with Nukt, and Nukt had the power of 4 different devils. And these devils all have their own different powers and abilities. And so each devil that you gain the power of, you also are able to use their magic and take on that form of magic. Nukt uses his ability called Atonement. And basically it's a sealing technique, and they tried to seal these two demons. However, these two demons were so powerful. So as we know in Black Clover currently, Yuno has this new power-up, you could say, or a new ability. And the ability enables him to use the spirit of Boreas. And he's currently fighting Zenon, and Zenon already has access to devil or demon power. So if you defeat a demon or a devil and then you contract with them, you gain the powers of that devil because they basically become your servant, depending on the type of contract you create with them. Consequently, from this power-up, Yuno goes from struggling to basically winning, but then again, they finally unlock the underworld, or they open up the underworld. And when you open the underworld, obviously demons come out. However, anyone with demon powers are amplified to their 100% capacity. So Zenon goes back to just being super strong again, as opposed to at 50%. Now, for Asta, he gets into this little bit of a training arc, and Nukt teaches him how to subdue a devil. And that would allow him to contract with the devil and take its power and use it for its own. And he successfully does manage to contract with this particular devil. And he names him. He gives him a name. He calls him Lieb or Libi, Lebe. But anyways, with this new devil union, he takes his newly found anti-magic devil union mode power and goes from being not able to harm certain characters, including like a big demon, to basically being able to split it in half. All other mages in the kingdom were struggling with this particular demon because demons have magic, or their magic is able to repel all other magic, whereas anti-magic is the only thing that is able to cut straight through, because normal magic would not be able to influence or affect devils. So that's why Asta's power, even though it's not that amazing or cool like regular magic, it's far more effective in terms of being actually able to harm other demons. So that's something that these demons aren't actually quite familiar with, is being able to be harmed by mages, because usually mages can't harm these devils or demons. Anyways, let's get to the main panel. As it states here, it burns away everything, devil ice magic, devil flame magic, freezes everything, even shadow and light, and even invisible concepts. So if these abilities that these two new devils that have appeared are able to burn away at everything, including concepts. How far does that extend? Because we can't say that it's going to extend to infinity, because that would be a no limits fallacy. However, it does say it could freeze everything, even shadow, light, and even invisible concepts. So if they're invisible concepts, does this mean time? Does this mean space? Does this mean, concepts that are abstract ideas? Is this a form of reality warping, so to speak? These are all questions that this could lead to. So if these characters have the capacity to be beyond concepts, they could potentially, especially if they're above all space and time, already just jump straight to being above all dimensions or all forms of dimensionality, which would mean they're outerversal, if they were able to exist in the outerverse. And let's say the underworld was the outerverse. That would be crazy. But the problem with that, and a massive wide-reaching assumption like this, there has not been shown to be an infinite amount of dimensions within Black Clover, the verse. So you can't really prove that a character is beyond the concepts of space and time and outerversal unless if they have an outerverse, meaning a place that's beyond an infinite amount of dimensions. So if it doesn't have an infinite amount of dimensions, then their verse is probably not outerversal. So that would be the next part. That would be very difficult for people to prove. Prove that there's a multiverse or an infinite amount of multiverses with infinite amount of dimensions in the Black Clover verse. Because if you can't do that, then you can't prove that they're above the entire concept of space and time. Because every single dimension and every single multiverse and universe has space and time within them. So if there's just one universe that they're bound by time or space in that particular universe that they go to, and they're still bound by time, then they're not above the entire concept, are they? Because they're still bound by time in a particular universe. So unfortunately for Black Clover fans, this isn't really a scalable feat. Besides, we've heard a lot of different language throughout the manga of things such as spatial manipulation, for example. So we know that this is most likely magic that they're using. So these are just abilities, not base power. So when we're talking about dimensionality, like a character being outerversal or multiversal or whatever, in their base form, they are that. But if they're using these abilities, or as he says, or he or she, I'm not sure which one's talking here, if the devil flame magic freezes everything, it burns away everything, then that's an ability, because it's devil flame magic, devil ice magic. It's not just their base form, like their pure existence makes them a thing. So in terms of scaling into outerversal, this feat would not scale. So the real important questions to ask is, what concepts are they able to destroy with their magic? Because if it really is all invisible concepts, including time and space, because these aren't necessarily visible concepts, then it's highly probable that if Asta, for example, was able to sever the hand of one of these devils, and these devils are outerversal beings because they are transcendent, or their magic is able to be beyond all concepts, including, we know that these devils are basically the embodiment of magic as well. So it would also lead to the assumption that these beings very well could be outerversal beings themselves, if they're above time and space. And that's the kind of arguments that I've been hearing from other people. But in my opinion, because these are based on assumptions, you can't scale them there. And yeah, if it's an assumption, like if you have to assume that they are able to destroy these concepts or they're above them, then it's not really evidence. It's no different to any other piece of evidence. You got to make sure that the evidence you're working with actually proves that. You can't imply meaning from evidence or assume additional meaning. Like, it should be able to speak for itself. And this picture of the burn everything, including invisible concepts. What's invisible concepts? That's pretty vague, and it's not really clear evidence. It could be certainly hyperbolic. Based on the latest chapters that I've seen, these aren't really scalable feats in terms of upscaling using the concept thing. I don't think the concept thing is a scalable method. But in terms of, oh yeah, like he's got a new power up, he should be stronger now, that is a valid method. And based on what some of these other beings have or will perform, including the two new devils, that would also be a valid way of scaling them, especially if they go through their backstory and say they destroyed a planet or a universe or just something crazy. This is a valid form of scaling, but in terms of guessing what concepts they can destroy and if they're above them, yeah, that's not really a scalable thing, is it, if you have to guess? So yeah, that's my take on the Black Clover scaling. If you have any other manga, anime, or just fictional comic that you want me to go through, read, talk about how people scale from there, let me know down in the comments. Peace.